Okay, so today is August 6th, 2020, and in Jamaica it is noted as Independence Day. And this is the day that we got gained independence from UK, or so to speak. And this leads to me what we're going to talk about. And right there, a brief video earlier, recording earlier, just giving a happy Independence Day to Jamaica. I mean, usual celebration gesture. I mean. But this is something I've been meaning to do for a good while, and all I can, and this goes into the topic. Are we really independent from our slave masters? And that's a rhetorical question, by the way. So yeah, all right. So yeah, we celebrate the importance of this day, but are we really independent? And we all know the answer to that. Yeah, on paper we gained independence from the UK, but overall outside of that, we're anything but independent. I mean, I want to do some Emancipation Day, but I just type both of this in together. Because thing is, like, as you know, it's history of Jamaica, how we this infrastructure that we're still under that primarily started when the Europeans, first the Spaniards, then the British came, and Jamaica we know, it was based on that plantation system. All right, where the minority, mostly whites or passing for whites, were on the top. Rest of us, mainly black Jamaicans, were on the bottom. And even though on this day we got independence, we didn't really get independence. And as it that is demonstrated basically in a lot of our social ills that we're still under, like the crime, corruption, low low economic opportunities, and there's the overall disregard for moral values and moral accountability, right? And the thing is, what people will say is that okay, that we are failing to realize why we still have these ills, do we have these roadblocks? Nah, the thing of the matter is, it's not meant to. These are not failures that that we're still having the repercussions of. Is basically all by design. Because when people call Jamaica a failed state, though, that's a subjective term, right? Failed state means that okay, that there are honest efforts on a collective level to fully gain independence for average Jamaicans, and actually that's anything but the truth. Truth is the infrastructure, the mechanisms that that the colonial system that Jamaica was created by on, those are still very much in place, and that's why, and for those who are trying who want to uphold that type of system, they're actually, that is anything but a failure. All right, because the fact that Jamaica still has these economic and also other areas that we're still falling short of, that's basically met by design. So when people say that Jamaica is a failed state, that it's a failed in the term. Yes, we have all these pitfalls that we still haven't overcome. But at the end of the day, is that there are certain people in Jamaica, unfortunately, who purposely are letting those pitfalls remain in place. And because a good general idea of Jamaica is that Jamaica was created to have pitfalls for the majority of us, right? And that is why I can't say it's a fail to those people who are purposely having those pitfalls being maintained. That's they're actually successful in that regard. So people just have to understand when you say failed state, that just means it's a failed state for most Jamaicans who want better and are aspiring to do better. But for those Jamaicans who want things to remain just the way they are, they're actually, this is anything but a failed state though, because Jamaica, as you know, I've said before online or whatever, that Jamaica was created as a slave colony. All right, Jamaica was maintained as a hierarchy where certain people of privilege in the minority, they're the ones who hold most of the power in Jamaica. And because the thing is that, and this ties into the independence illusion that we're still under. What basically happens when we gain quote unquote independence from Britain is that all they said, okay, all right, we won't be able there in present, we won't physically be there to oppress you niggers directly, but you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna be passing the slave whip to our Negro minions. I mean, the other Negroes or Negropeans, as I like to call them, who think that they're honorable whites or whatever. That all right, we're gonna pass a whip to you, all right, and you can oppress your own people, all right, because we all know that some of you Negroes who have this self-hatred, that you think that you're honorable Europeans, that all right, that we're just going to make you do all the dirt. You're going to act as de facto oppressors for us, all right, because we're not. All right, and the thing, and also kicker is that all the repatriation money that was supposed to go to most Jamaicans for all the slave labor we've done over the centuries, actually is going to go towards the slave masters and their families. So, and yeah, we'll break off some chump change to all these Negropeans who want to maintain that same system that we created. And that's what basically happened. Said, okay, on paper, okay, we're saying you're gaining pencils, but we're going to actually we're just going to find a more sneakier way to maintain that slave system that Jamaica was based on. Yeah, so that's what the zest about is, and most Jamaicans know that because we can celebrate Independence Day and any other holidays that mark how proud we are of our Jamaican heritage. And I'm not saying that nothing's wrong with these symbolic celebrations, but at the end of the day, is that we can't really hide from reality. I mean, like you can't be the proverbial ostrich that bears its head in the sand, and then while there is a elephant stampede heading towards you. I mean, like burying your head in the sand is not going to stop those elephants from stampeding you to death if you're going to be in the direct path of that stampede, so to speak. So when we celebrate Independence Day on days like this, just be mindful of the fact that okay, that we're still not fully independent, all right, and that's by design. But yeah, but that's just what I'm getting into. And also other factors that have come into this is that yeah, the crime and corruption. Again, these are issues, or better yet, these are challenges that are not meant to be rectified. Because like I said, criminality, whether it's on a very personal level or even on the higher level, all of that is help to maintain that hierarchy. Because criminals, in the most part, they have an understanding that if we abate crime, if we do something about crime, that means that that system, that infrastructure is going to fall, and that means that that delusion that we have that we're independent, that's going to the truth is going to actually reveal itself. And then when we finally understand that these issues need to be dealt with, then then we can finally fully move towards being truly independent. But the thing is, but I'm just giving this as a reminder to people who think that okay, because we're still in the illusion that okay, we're just fully independent. But no, what they did was that they just said okay, we've gotten rid of chattel slavery. We're easing up on that economic slavery, but by much. I mean, we just modified it so that it's not so blatant in your face, as well as it used to be. But we're just going to be more sneakier in the way of keeping you as a slave colony. And and the thing is that people need to understand that it's just that these infrastructures that led to these problems that are pervading, like the low economic opportunities, again by design, again the high crime rate, which people know how to solve it, but we'd have people who are unwilling or unable to deal with it, and so on. But the thing is, what was even more damage is that we have this delusion that we made it like we're fully independent. And as I said, when we celebrate holidays like this, be aware of it, but also be aware what the solutions are. And the solutions are is this: is that you one again understand the full con game, and also on a personal level is that worked on a long term scale to rectify it. Like, all right, like for one, start holding some many or political leaders in both parties, the GLP and the PNP, accountable. And don't give me the rubbish that that we can't do anything, or that these politicians are these gods or demigods that can't be touched. That's not true. And the truth be told is that, and that's the fault of many Jamaicans who are under the system, who really are in denial about, is that it's not even the fact that these politicians are gods or something is or whatever. It's the fact what they symbolize. Because when we say independent now, we think we're still there's still many of us are still on that slave plantation. Because even during slavery, when Jamaicans and other blacks in the diaspora were on those slave estates, there are a lot of them, a good amount of them, that did not want to leave that slave colony, leave the plantations. And when slavery is over, many of them said, "Oh, we still want to be in slavery." Cause what? They got so broken down and so subservient to the point that the most important thing is not really being free and actually trying to make a way off those slave estates. Is that fact that we're just codependent on and and the rest of the people who ran those plantations, right? Because to them, and in Jamaica, unfortunately, we're so from that we wanted that white acceptance so badly that even if we have that plantation, is that we still want to be next to Massa. And the thing is, what these politicians, even though many of them unfortunately are quote unquote black, that means they're the de facto slave masters, and what they represent is that need to be subjugated. I know I want to do a recording on subjugation culture or the subjugation mindset at some point, but that should be coming soon. And what they represent, as I said, is that these are the new slave masters. These are the ones that we get to be. These are the ones that are going to keep us on those plantations. We think that's our lot in life, and that's why. And the thing is that these politicians and many of the people in the elites, the fellow travelers, right? They're the one, like I said, they're the ones that are putting the whips to our backs. But the thing is that we're just so used to it. I said, no, I accept the fact that hey, these people may not have the best interests at mind. They people don't. They may not. They may use, abuse, exploit us. That's just the way when they have no more use for us. Me and the same old Sanders. And Jamaicans, most of us aren't stupid. Most of us know what the deal is with these people that we keep putting allowed to remain in power. That they know that they don't mean us any good. Mean that they do these little symbolic gestures whenever and when they're in power. Yeah, fix up a few roads. I mean, like get rid of some, um, give a few jobs. I mean, many of those jobs aren't going to put you on an equal playing field, of course. Just like they did in slave plantations where we just got paid bird feed salaries while the plantation owners and their families reap the land shares. But that don't matter. I mean, as long as we get to be under master or proverb or de facto master, all right. As long as we get to be subjugated, because we just that's our lot in life. We just have to be under the whip, all right. All right, and and like I said, not to lose my track of thought. That's why we tolerate so much of this BS right here. And the thing is, like, we've not gone up to point where saying like, let's vote out some of these people in both sides. All right, make sure that hey, there's a price you're going to pay for deceiving and manipulating the populace, and and create and instead put people in there who are going to serve the best interest of the masses. But the man in the masses said that not just being on the massa or de facto massa, that's more important than anything. All right, and that's why we're not voting or really having these politicians in both parties pay a price. And I say the fact that it's not because okay that these are invincible in human beings that cannot be held accountable for their actions. No, it's the fact that it's what they symbolize. Okay, they symbolize, they're the closest thing next to Massa or Bakra, and we want to be on those slave plantations. And I can guarantee you that if chattel slavery was to come back to Jamaica, if the Europeans or America side say, you know what, we're going to take over Jamaica, we're going to go back to back to the era of being antebellum slavery or Jim Crow or the Jim Crow state. Many of them, there are a lot of Negroes. Unfortunately, many in Jamaica who would happily go back to that state, even if we're going to get abused, mutilated, disrespected, whatever. We just want to be back in that state, and that's a part of the reason why we're not independent, because we refuse to be independent of that system, that slave system that's still there, and the current oppressors in both parties. I mean, like, instead of again charging price for them to, we're actually still supporting them, no matter how many scandals are happening. Yeah, their current government, yeah, has a lot of scandals. That don't matter. Chances are the current government might win the election whenever it is. And even if they don't, the opposition's not any better. Don't kid yourself right there. Both parties, regardless who's in power, are 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 full of scandals. And the problem is that there's not a price they're going to pay for it. And yeah, and like I said, with the system that we have, to the judges, the jurors, the prosecutors, people in the police force, in the media, I can go on. A lot of them, people in position of power, are enabling this bullshit because, hey, we accept the system for how it is and we don't want to change it. I mean, no matter what consequences we pay. Because the thing is, like I said, like, as long as we're still on that plantation, because we're just so used to being that plantation, that we're just, that even works to our detriment for the most part, we're just going to we're just going to keep that plantation going. And I also, and even that's the reason why we have allowed foreigners, well, especially European or Asian foreigners, to come into Jamaica. And the thing is, as I said, it's not even about the money that or profits that we're getting from these people. Many of us know that these outsiders do not care about Jamaica. Many of the Europeans and Asians see black Jamaicans and other blacks in diaspora as subhuman primates that we can kick around. But the thing is that many of us are so used to that, that we don't mind being kicked around. All right, even the few Jamaicans, the minority Jamaicans, unfortunately, we're in the minority. Even when they say no, we can do better, we need to fight back, we need to stop having put our foot down. Men say nah, we just no. To see we massa or equivalent to massa. All right, or I mean that just having them around, having them lord over us, that's more important than survival. And people need to understand it's not about economic opportunities because we do not get anything collectively out of these other groups coming in here and taking over, getting these land grants, getting these opportunities over most Jamaicans. We don't get anything, all right. And the thing is, the only thing we get is just derision and scorn, and also and lack of respect. But just having massa or the equivalent to massa, because remember, Asians, many of them have that same racial pathology as many Europeans and white Americans. But the thing is to them is that they're almost close to, they're the next best thing next to massa. That okay, we don't mind that. I mean, no. Can you imagine that if there are some African countries or even some blacks from diaspora who collectively got their weight up and also want to do business in Jamaica and also wanted to come in large numbers like they're allowing the Europeans and the Asians, you can bet that Jamaicans would not open the bridge for these our fellow brothers and sisters throughout the diaspora because they're not massive. I mean, like we're not right to them. Like I said, just having other black people outside of Jamaica who want to help come in do other things. We're going to put a stop to that because we don't want other black people's acceptance. I mean, we have this self hatred across the globe for each other. We have this division factor. It's not because even if they were to come with opportunities and say, okay, we can help your Jamaicans, we can help help to build the way for your country. We're just going to say, nah, no, we don't want that. Because, I mean, for the first off, they wouldn't want to piss off their European or Asian masters who are already here because they know, cause you know that would be bad optics. Because what would happen is that Uncle Sam, the Queen, or even Uncle Chin are going to say, nah, we're not going to, we don't like the optics of that. No, we don't want to encourage you niggers to think that, okay, you can have this, you can have this you can have all these other niggers coming in and taking our spot and being competition. No, we don't like that. No, if anyone's gonna come, if anyone's gonna be be on equal grounds or so on, it's going to be us. And yeah, even Asians and Europeans may have their factions and divisions about who gets to run the yard here in the Caribbean. But no, they all of them would say, no, we're not going to allow you to have all these other black countries and come in and actually unify all you Negroes. Right? That's not going to happen because, and again, a lot of Jamaicans, we would not allow a lot of our brothers and sisters across outside of Jamaica to come in large numbers. And for those who might answer on this particular point, I don't want to hear about the few African embassies that we have in Jamaica. They do not count. They're not in. They're not a lot of Africans, African citizens or other black citizens outside Jamaica. They're coming here in large numbers. They are allowed to get all these economic opportunities collectively. So, to those who might answer that point, there just know that there is a very big difference of how we treat foreigners of a certain color versus foreigners who look like us. All right, there's a very big distinct difference. And again, it's just more about getting that proverbial pat on the head. That's what matters to us. Because as long as we get white or close to white acceptance, that's what's going to matter to us, though. And again, I tend to say that this is why we're not independent, and so on. All right, but this is what things I mean to say about the state of independence in Jamaica. All right, I mean I could go on and on. There are more corners I have to do about that, but this I'm just giving those who are celebrating independence something to obviously contemplate and acknowledge. All right, we can symbolically celebrate Independence Day here, but we're not free. All right, and the thing is that many of us know this on a deep level, and it's gonna be a point where Jamaicans don't know the score. All right, most Jamaicans, all right, we may pretend to be like we're ignorant or whatever. Many of us know what the deal is, and the deal is we like to symbolically celebrate our independence, but we do not want to acknowledge that we're not truly independent because we still are a slave colony to Europe and America and Asia to a lesser degree. All right. And the question is, in the long run, how many of us are really going to say, let's be fully independent of all the people who mean us no harm, don't mean us any well. And that's something I wanted to give it. There's something for you to think about on this day on August 6th, 2020, as we celebrate Independence Day. All right, so this is for State of Jamaica and the Caribbean. Check them out YouTube pages. Miles Christopherin, Miles J Productions, and Real Thoughts of Miles. Okay.